It was a seemingly ordinary Monday afternoon on May 17, 2025, in East Kilbride, a quiet town just outside Glasgow. Wilson Place, a modest industrial estate housing a variety of small businesses, looked like any other weekday setting. But beneath this calm, tension simmered in Scotland's underworld, waiting to erupt. At approximately 1:25 p.m, chaos shattered the peace. Emergency services received a frantic call reporting a brutal assault at a local garage. Owned by Robert Daniel, a convicted drug dealer and a known figure within Glasgow's feared Daniel crime family, the garage became the site of carnage. Responding officers found two men lying grievously wounded, hacked repeatedly with machetes. The perpetrators were three masked men who had stormed the premises, apparently searching for Daniel himself. Finding no sign of him, their rage was unleashed on the innocent workers. The attackers fled the scene in a blue Audi A5, which was later found burnt out near a nursery centre in Blantyre. Witnesses described seeing them switch vehicles, climbing into a red Vauxhall Astra just moments before the Audi was set ablaze. The attack was chilling evidence of a calculated ambush, a violent chess move in a larger game of power and revenge. This assault was not an isolated incident, but part of a growing pattern of violence tearing at the fabric of Scotland's cities. The once dormant rivalries between gangs had ignited into open warfare, with weapons once unheard of in these circles, machetes, petrol bombs, and high-powered firearms, becoming tools of terror. It painted a grim picture of the escalating brutality sweeping the region. Just 5 days after the East Kilbride massacre, another violent strike rattled Scotland's criminal scene, this time in Edinburgh. On the evening of May 22nd, police were called to Pitcairn Grove following reports of a savage machete attack on David McMillan, an associate of jailed crime boss Mark Richardson. Richardson, though not officially linked to the Daniel family, was a significant player in Edinburgh's underworld, and his networks often tangled with rivals in Glasgow. Witnesses recounted a grey Land Rover discovery pulling up before at least 4 masked men emerged, descending on McMillan with brutal ferocity. Left with catastrophic injuries, McMillan's attack sent a clear message. Scotland's gangland war was no longer simmering quietly, it was erupting. The choice of weaponry, machetes rather than firearms, was deliberate, reflecting a bloody signature meant to terrify rivals and assert dominance. These attacks have shattered community peace, leaving families terrified and police forces scrambling to contain the chaos. In the background, law enforcement agencies have noted a disturbing trend: the globalization of Scotland's gangland. Ties to international drug routes, encrypted messaging networks, and foreign safe havens are increasingly common, complicating efforts to dismantle these criminal organizations. The wounds inflicted on Scotland's streets are symptomatic of a larger, more complex criminal ecosystem. Ross McGill's story begins far from the blood-soaked streets of East Kilbride and Edinburgh, in the quieter suburbs of Lanarkshire. As a teenager, McGill was a football fanatic, a devout Rangers supporter whose loyalty was evident from a young age. His passion soon found an outlet in the ultra scene, first with the Blue Order and later the Union Bears, two of Rangers' most notorious fan groups. By the time Stephen Gerrard managed Rangers at Ibrox, McGill had risen through the ranks, becoming a leading figure among the ultras. Unlike many of his peers who masked themselves, McGill was unafraid to appear publicly, even campaigning openly for fan causes such as safe standing at the stadium. His charisma and leadership were evident. He organized chants, marches, and pyrotechnic displays that made him a recognizable face among supporters. His influence went beyond the terraces. McGill was widely respected among Rangers fans, receiving accolades and even public praise from players and club officials. When he stepped down from his ultra leadership role in 2021, tributes poured in, recognizing his commitment to the fan movement. What made McGill's transformation intriguing was how he managed to straddle two worlds so seamlessly. On the one hand, he was a figure of passion and loyalty, celebrated in the stadium stands. On the other, whispers of his criminal ties began to surface, hinting at a darker persona. Behind the fanfare, another side of McGill was emerging, one far darker and far more dangerous. Unknown to many, law enforcement agencies had begun investigating McGill for alleged involvement in organized crime and drug trafficking. His ascent in Glasgow's criminal underworld mirrored his rise in the ultra scene, strategic, fast, and fueled by powerful connections. Reports link McGill to some of Scotland's most notorious crime figures, including James "the Don" White, a crime boss jailed in 2023 for running a massive drug and firearms network, and Lloyd Cross, a former ultra-turned-drug dealer convicted for a multi-million-pound cocaine smuggling operation. McGill's leadership within the Union Bears reportedly brought him into contact with these major players, forming alliances that blurred the line between football fandom and organized crime. What distinguished McGill from many others in Scotland's criminal circles was his calculated approach. He was not just a violent enforcer, but a strategist, adept at navigating complex criminal networks stretching from Scotland to Spain and beyond. This ability made him a rising figure, feared by rivals and law enforcement alike. In early 2022, just months before he was due in court for his suspected criminal activities, McGill disappeared. His sudden vanishing was no accident, but a carefully timed escape as authorities closed in on him amidst the unraveling of the Encrochat network, an international encrypted messaging platform used by criminals. McGill's first refuge was Spain, but he soon relocated to Dubai, a city known for its luxurious lifestyle and lack of an extradition treaty with the UK, an ideal sanctuary for fugitives like him. Using the alias Miami, McGill was photographed driving a white Rolls-Royce, living a life far removed from his humble roots in Lanarkshire. Dubai's glitzy facade masks a darker underworld where exiled gangsters enjoy opulence funded by their illicit empires. For McGill, this new life represents the ultimate transformation, from football ultra capo to fugitive crime lord commanding operations from afar. His presence in Dubai highlights a troubling global trend: criminals exploiting safe havens to evade justice, continuing their illicit activities with impunity. The luxurious lifestyle, five-star hotels, expensive sports cars, exclusive clubs, provides a stark contrast to the violence and fear his empire generates back home. While McGill basks in Dubai's luxury, his criminal empire wreaks havoc thousands of miles away in Scotland. Police investigations reveal a brutal campaign of violence under his direction, with firebombings, machete attacks, and revenge killings shaking Glasgow and Edinburgh. His network, reportedly coordinated through trusted lieutenants in Spain's Costa del Sol, orchestrates attacks by recruiting young foot soldiers and enforcing McGill's will on the streets. Central to this violent machine is a feared enforcement group known as Tamu Junto, believed responsible for some of the most gruesome assaults linked to McGill's rivalries. Over 30 arrests and intensified police raids have gradually exposed the shadowy figure orchestrating the violence. Once a passionate football ultra, McGill now stands accused of controlling lucrative drug routes and aligning himself with hardened criminals, fueling a gangland war that shows no signs of abating. This decentralized command structure makes McGill hard to reach, as he distances himself physically and operationally from the violence, relying on layers of intermediaries and foreign allies to maintain control. The escalation of violence is traced back to a high-stakes drug deal gone awry. A £500,000 cocaine transaction, allegedly paid for with counterfeit banknotes linked to associates of jailed Edinburgh boss Mark Richardson, shattered trust and ignited a violent feud. Though direct proof tying McGill to the botched deal is sparse, such betrayals rarely go unanswered in criminal circles. The fallout triggered retaliatory attacks, shifting power balances and deepening animosities among Scotland's gangs. McGill's ambition is clear: to become Scotland's undisputed underworld kingpin. His ruthless approach and network of enforcers make him a formidable force, rising fast from obscurity to the top table of organised crime. At the core of McGill's violent campaign is Tamu Junto, a brutal enforcement unit believed responsible for a wave of attacks spanning Glasgow to Edinburgh. Their actions include targeted firebombings and savage machete assaults designed to send unmistakable messages to rivals. Operating from his Dubai base, McGill avoids direct involvement in the bloodshed, instead relying on his Spanish allies, criminals entrenched in the Costa del Sol's underworld who recruit and direct foot soldiers. This arrangement shields McGill while ensuring his orders are ruthlessly executed. Despite attempted peace talks led by enforcers loyal to Stephen Bonzo Daniel, a key figure in the Daniel crime family, McGill reportedly rejected all offers, signaling his intention to continue the war. Insiders warn that the violence is far from over. McGill's thirst for power and control over Scotland's criminal landscape shows no limits. The ongoing Gangland war threatens to engulf more communities in bloodshed and fear. From a teenage football fanatic chanting in the stands to a fugitive crime boss pulling strings from the deserts of Dubai, Ross McGill's journey is a stark reminder of how passion, ambition, and darkness can intertwine. As Scotland's underworld continues to bleed, the story of Ross McGill is still unfolding, a dangerous saga marked by betrayal, violence, and an unrelenting pursuit of power. That is it for today's video. What is your thoughts on our story? And leave a comment below, and I will see you next time.